Welcome to the Ultimate Golf Outing Spreadsheet. I hope this covers all your needs for your leagues and outings. So let's take a look at the features. I'm not going to go over all the features individually. We'll do that in the demonstration section, but you can pause this if you'd like just to go over all the individual features of the program. So let's move over to the next section, which talks about the considerations. There are a few considerations. It supports anywhere from 6 to 72 players. The spreadsheet supports total round scores only. It does not store individual hole scores. We'll discuss this in more detail, but the handicap calculation is average across all rounds. It's not USGA. The spreadsheet does need Excel to run. Macros will need to be allowed for VBA code to function, but there are no actual macros in the spreadsheet. If it doesn't fit your needs, I suggest you exit now because you probably won't find this to do what you're looking to do. So let's move on to a couple additional comments. If you liked the video, please add a like below. If you'd like to see this as an executable program or a web app, please leave a comment below or send me an email. Lastly, if you'd like to purchase the spreadsheet, please see the link in the description below. The subjects that we covered will be as follows. The first section will discuss how to use the spreadsheet. And then the second section will discuss the design in case you want to develop one on your own. So let's get started and take a look at the actual spreadsheet. Okay, so here we have a sample spreadsheet with information already added into it. At the bottom, what you're going to see is the various tabs. You have round pairings, courses, scores, ranking, instructions, copyright, and groupings. We're going to start on the round pairing section and show you what this is about, and then we'll move over to the next sections. So on the top here, what you see, first of all, in blue are the days between rounds. You can see column B, we have 7. So the time between the first round and the second is actually 7 days, as you can see here. So you can set that whatever you want. If you want to have a weekly, you would do 7. If you want a daily, then obviously you would do 1. All the dates except for the first one will automatically change depending on the days between the rounds. Below that, you just have the information of the various rounds from 1 through 10. Below there, in this example, we currently have it set up as a shotgun start, so you can see on all the various rounds, you've got the holes that people are starting off on from 1 through 18. There are holes that have an A after that. We'll explain that in a minute, but you can see you have all these rounds already completed. In column K, you have enter player's group number. That allows you to group people together so that if particular people want to be playing together, you can just say, okay, let's put the first 3 people into group 2 as an example, and then they would all be into playing together. Something like that would make it so that the first 4 players listed here would all be playing together, and everybody else would say, oh, I don't care, you can put me with anybody. So let's just go back to the none for this example. And next to that, you have playing today. You might put as many as up to 72 golfers' names here, but maybe some people aren't going to be showing up a particular day for various reasons. So you can just uncheck them for today, and then when you do a recalculation, they won't be showing up on any of the pairings for a particular round. We'll just check it as they're all playing today. Next to that, you have the golfer's name. I put Joe as the first one, and then all the others are just numbers for this example. Next column, you actually have a place where you can put the email information. If you click on that email name, it will then generate an individual email automatically. If you have a whole list of emails all filled out and you click the email all names, it will then compile all the email names into one email, and then allow you to send an email out to everyone saying maybe the round was canceled because of rain or something like that. The only thing to consider is if you have like 72 names in one email, just make sure that that's not going to cause a problem with your internet provider in terms of them thinking it's spam. If that's the case, then you might want to use something like MailChimp or Constant Contact or something like that instead. Next columns, you can put in their phone numbers, address, city, state, zip code information if you want to have that as well. And that fills out all the information. And now, like I said, you do have the option of selecting here either a shotgun start or a tea time start. So we'll change this to a tea time start for this example now, and it shows a 10 a.m. and 10-minute tea time delay in between groups. Obviously, those are both can be changed to be whatever is appropriate for your situation. So you can do that. Now, let's say right now we have the starting date at 23, but let's say we're actually in 24. So let's change this to 24 instead, just to make an example. And let's say hypothetically that today is the 19th. So what that means is that today's round, being the 19th and on, are going to be changed. But let's assume that the 17th and the 18th have already been played. We don't want to change those necessarily, so we're just going to leave those alone. So for this example now, all we need to do is hit the recalculate button. And currently we have it set so all of the rounds are all 18 holes. We'll discuss that in the course section later if you want to change that. But once you have all this set, all you need to do is hit the randomize button here. And you get a little note just saying the handicaps are estimated, not USGA approved, just so you kind of know. And you hit OK. And now you can see that round 1 and round 2 are still set up as a shotgun start because that's the way we did it. But rounds 3 and on are now set up to be tea time starting. If we were going to go back and change it back to a shotgun start and redo it again, obviously rounds 1 and 2, you can see 11 and 11 there. If we hit the randomize button again, and then there's the note, you see they're still exactly the same. The only thing that's changed is round 3 through round 10. So that gives you the basic concept of how to set up the various randomized pairings. Now, you will see that on the bottom here, I did set up players number 50, 53, and 55 to be in group 1. And as you can see here, as I randomize the pairings, they're still all grouped together on various holes throughout the rounds, which is what you want. But in this example, because we have 72 players, but we have the last group as 3, it's not an even number. So if you did the math, you'd find out that it would actually want to have starting on 19 holes. But of course, you can't have that. So we actually had to double up on one group. So we now have a group that has A at the end. So you might see 16A. There's going to be 16 as well as 16A. So you have two groups teeing off on the hole number 16 as you look through the the various rounds. So, but that's just a very unusual scenario that would only happen if you had this unusual combination of 3 players and 72 players in total. At the bottom here, you see how many players are actually in the league and how many people are actually grouped together as well. So they're just some relative information there. So that kind of gives you the overview of the setup for the round pairings. Now, let's assume you did all this and you were fine. You did the whole league or maybe just a weekend round or something like that, but you want to start all over again. Well, you have this one extra button here called Clear All Names, so you can hit that and you see this little warning come up and it says, are you sure you want to do this, just in case you accidentally hit that button. If you obviously made a mistake, you hit no, but let's assume that you just want to clear everything out and start all over again. Well, then you hit yes, and there you go. You're now cleared out and you're ready to start from scratch. So that gives you the idea of how to fill out the round pairings section. So now let's move over to the courses section and we'll explain what that's all about. Okay, so here we are in the courses section. In column A, you'll see the course name information. We just put in some sample names: Atlantis, Ocean, course 3 through 10. The next column lists the date that the rounds are being played. That date information is automatically brought over from the round pairing section, so you don't have to add that. The next column, C, it says holes played. You have a choice of 9 or 18. And the second round, we have 9. There's a drop down, so you just click on that box and you can select either 9 or 18 as an example. From there, we have tee box information. You can name the tee box whatever you want. And then from there, you put in the rating, the slope, and the par for each of up to 4 different tee boxes. As you can see here, we just filled out some sample information. Below that, you'll just see some notes, maximum score allowed if you want to reference that for your rounds. And then on the next section where we're putting in scores, this gives you some information about how the handicaps are calculated. It gives you the official handicap formula. And then below that, it talks about how round 1 handicap is based on the starting handicap. Round 2 includes the starting handicap plus 2 times the first round 1 handicap, etc., all the way through round 10. USGA does have a thing called PCC adjustment for things like wind and rain, but that's unique to them, and so that's not included in the calculations in the next section. So that's it for the course information. Now, if you're done with a round or a league is completed and you want to go back to the beginning, you can, again, just like on the previous section, you can hit the clear course list and it will give you the option to delete everything, and then you just click on that and it brings you right back to a blank sheet to start all over again. So that's the course's information. Let's now move over to the scores section and take a look at that. Okay, so here we are in the scores section, and what you'll see in column A starting off are the names of the golfers. You don't have to enter that again. That's carried over from the rounds pairing section. The next column is the average score. This is where you will put in the player's average score if they don't have a GIN handicap. If they do, take that GIN handicap, increase it by 20% and add that to 72 and put that in the average score section. That will be used to calculate the starting handicap for the first round. Now you'll see on the top in black you have holes played, currently showing 18 for all of the courses being played. That's carried over also from the courses section, so that's automatically populated, as well as the names of the courses being played is also carried over from the courses section, so you don't have to manually enter that as well. Below that in green, you'll see 4 sections labeled tee box, as well as score, handicap, and your net score. So you have the option for the tee box for each round. You could do an individual tee box for each player if you want to do that. Or you have also the option of going above there in the green box and selecting a tee box. So let's say everybody's teeing off from tee box 2, then that will automatically change everybody to tee box 2. Next to that, you put in the scores of the round, which we've already done. Based on the tee box, that's going to calculate the handicap for the players. And then using that information, that will give you your net score for each round. And as you can see, we've populated all that information all the way across all of the different courses being played. When you get to the very end, you'll see that we have GIN handicap calculation for all the individual players, net total across all of the 10 rounds in this example, and then it shows how many rounds were actually played as well. So that shows you all of the information to enter for scores. Again, like I said in the beginning, this does not allow you to put in individual whole scores, just the combined total. And the last thing is, just like the other sections, if you're starting a new league following year, possibly, or something like that, and you want to start all over again, just click the clear scores, and that will clear out all the scores rather than having to individually do that. And so that's where you enter in the scores, and then from there, we're going to go into the ranking section to utilize all this information to rank all of the players. So let's move over to that. So here is the ranking section. All of the information here is actually brought in from the other parts of the spreadsheet. The golfer name is brought in from the round pairing section. The course name is brought in automatically from the courses section, and the net scores are brought in from the score section. So all you're really doing is looking at this and giving you the option to sort. So you can see the results of all the various rounds from 1 through 10. Then on the right-hand side, you'll see below the yellow here, you have final total sorting, and then you have a choice from this drop-down of either average or total. So here you'll have your golfer name first, then you see the net total of all the rounds, and then you see the net average. Now the net total might be what you're looking for if everybody played every round, but if maybe a few people miss some rounds, then you might want to be looking at the net average instead, because that would be more relevant. So you could change that to average. Once you've decided which way you want to go with that, then you can go back to the sort score section, and what that will do is it will sort each individual round to show the best net scores in descending order from the top down, and it'll also do the same thing for the final as well. So all you need to do is just hit the button, and you can see it just scrolled through, did all the updating. Now, since this has already been done once, there's no change, but you can see that Joe in this example still had the lowest net total and the lowest net average. So that's the section for ranking, and now let's just move over to the last 3 sections just to cover that. So the instruction tab basically covers everything we just reviewed, and it's on the spreadsheet, so you don't have to look at the video. Copyright just talks about the fact that the information is copyrighted as far as distribution is concerned. And then the last tab is just groupings, which show you when you look at the number of players playing anywhere from 6 to 72, it shows how many groups of 4 you would have and how many groups of 3 you would have to get that correct total. So for example, if you had 9 players, you wouldn't have any groups of 4, but you would have 3 groups of 3, etc. So all the way down, just to show you how the calculations were created in the round pairing section. And that's the extent of all the information about how to fill out the spreadsheet and about all the extra information that you have on the additional tabs. So now we're going to stop the demo, and we're going to go into the section which talks about how this spreadsheet was created. Okay, now that we've gone through the explanation of the spreadsheet, let's talk about how this was created and a couple little tips for you. So the first thing we'll take a look at is the macros. If you click on the developer tab and you click on the macros, what you'll see, which we mentioned previously, there aren't any. So the obvious question then is, well, how do we actually assign things to buttons without macros? Well, let's take a look at the code and we'll explain that. So let's go back to our Visual Basic section here. Let's look at this section called Routines. And one of the first ones here is called Clear Course. Now, this is pretty basic. All it just says in the first section you can see is, are you sure you want to delete all the courses? This is just a simple pop-up that allows you to cancel the routine if you don't want it to run. From there, you just select a range, and then you clear the contents. Maybe you put in a value. In this case, for the courses, we defaulted back to 18 for all the courses. And then we looked at the rest of the data in the section on the courses, and we clear that content as well, and then we're done. Now, although it might look a little complicated, it's not really. This was all done just by recording the macro. But the question, of course, is, well, if we recorded the macro, why isn't it not showing up? Well, the simple reason is because we changed this here from sub, which is what it first comes out to when you record the macro, to function. Now that we call it a function instead of a sub, it no longer shows up. It no longer shows up there. So, but we still have the button. So while it's still a sub, we will assign the macro to it, which we did, but you still don't actually see any macros being listed. And that's how you do a little trick there to make that. So all you need to do is just put the buttons in there, create them using the macro that you recorded, and then change it to a function. So pretty straightforward there. So now let's go back into the Visual Basic here. And again, you've got some pretty simple stuff. Clear scores. All these things are all done just by recording the various macros. So nothing really complicated here. Sorting, clearing, creating an email list and sending it to Outlook. All things you can look up, on the internet as well. So nothing real complex there. The golfing routine is probably the more complicated part of the section. So if we go up to the top here, you'll see the first thing is it's called startup. And this is kind of where we do the basic stuff. And the first thing, it's going to have you look at the groupings and say, are there more than less than 3 players or more than 4 players? And if you have that set up by mistake, then it's going to bring you to the end and just say, sorry, you can't. It's going to give you a note and say you can't do that, and nothing is going to run. Below that, you just see a section here where it's going to say, we're only going to activate sections where the date is either today or beyond today. So if it's less than today, then nothing is going to get activated, nothing's going to happen. And so that's what that little section there is. And then from there we have all the various routines called holes, 9 holes, create, group, shuffle, and hole update. So a lot of things are going to happen, and they're not in any particular order, but let's skip down to, since the first one is holes, let's go down to the hole section. And here we are in the hole section, and this is basically just looking at the courses part of the spreadsheet and saying, okay, are the holes 9 holes or 18 holes? And then set up an array that basically tells you for each of the rounds from 1 through 10, as you see here, are they 9 holes or are they 18? If they're 9, then it's going to assign a letter value to this my columns array value. If they're 18 holes, then it's just going to say it's blank, there's nothing. So that's the hole section. Now let's go into the next part of the routine, and you'll see the next one is called 9 holes. So after we run holes, then we're going to go to 9 holes. So here we have 9 holes. And basically what this is doing is saying, okay, do we want to assign values to the holes in a shotgun scenario where instead of being 1 through 18, the second group, instead of being hole number 10, 11, 12, is it going to be instead 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A? So based on the information, we're going to create another array, which is going to say, okay, replace the array with nothing if the array value is something other than 18 holes. So that's where the 9 holes is going to replace it and give you this 9A, etc. information. So that's the 9 holes part of the routine. Nothing has actually happened yet. It's just indexing, creating arrays. So let's go back to the top again, and you see the next one is called create. This is a little complex. Let's go down to the create section. So here we are in the create section. Now the first thing it's going to do is check to make sure you have at least 6 or more players to run the program. If you don't, then it's not going to work. From there, it's going to create an extra, if you will, column where it's going to create some random, information on a separate column. So it's going to copy and paste on the round pairing information, the names and everything else from there. And then it's going to, sort all of these scores information to match this based on the information as far as who's playing today, so that you sort it correctly. From there, it's going to say, okay, let's create this extra column, which we've done, and then we're going to create a value that's going to get randomized, and so you can see that we've done that on this section. And then from there, we're now going to go into the section where it's going to create all of the various values depending on how many people are playing. So, and you'll see there's a create 6 all the way up to a create 72. And so from there, once you've created all of the values for the number of people that are playing in a particular round, then it's going to call this function called randomized. So you can see here's one of the create for 6. So you've got a range of from 0 to 1 in multiples of 3. But then on number 8, because it's even number, you've got multiples of 4. Then you go back to 3 for 9, etc. This is all based on the grouping. So this, depending on the number of players, you're going to have all these things that are all going to then give you all of the correct values in order to randomize. And again, once you've got all of those things, then you call the randomize function in order to randomize all those values. So that's the create section. Once you've created values, then you have to create, then you have to look at the groups and say, wait a minute, we've got some groups that we need to create. So now let's go to the group section. Okay, so here we are in the groups function. So the group function basically allows you to index all of the values for the various groups. And so it's going to look at the groups of people, and it's going to replace them by, now you see the last one here talks about what happens if there's 19 holes, but, depending on the groups and whether it's a shotgun start or not is going to determine whether or not you're going to be grouping people as a time or as just a whole number. So that's what this section does. Then the last one is called shuffle. And once you have everybody assigned, then you're doing a shuffle where you're then shuffling all the various people around, including the group players, into a mix. So that's what the shuffling is doing. One more section, the whole update section, which you'll see here. And basically what it's doing is it's looking to start, is it a shotgun start or not? So if it's a shotgun start, it's going to look at the previous array and say, okay, was it a 9-hole round or was it an 18-hole round? So that's the first section here. And again, the 9-hole routine was actually previously generated. And then from there, it's going to say, okay, if it was, a 18-hole round, then we're going to do a replacement for each of the various columns that might have been a 9-hole range. Below that, if it was, instead of being a shotgun start, it was actually a tea time start, then again, it's going to look at the date ranges, and if it was a date greater than or equal to today, or the date that was in the spreadsheet, then it's going to change it to a time instead of a T box number. So that's what that does. So that's the last section of the complete routine. So that kind of gives you an overview of what we're doing on the program. It's kind of complicated to go through everything specifically, but that gives you at least a rough idea of how things are done. and why this thing is it turned out to be so complicated. It took me about 4 or 5 months in order to put all this together because of all the various options that you had to figure out. But hopefully you like it, and if you have any questions, then certainly let me know, and hopefully we can help you out. Thanks a lot for listening.